Let's get in further perspectives now on that story from Imtiaz Gul, senior journalist joining us from Pakistan. Also joining us is Sushant Sareen, strategic affairs analyst. Coming to you first, Imtiaz, there are a lot of questions that are being asked on the procedures which resulted in the final release of Hamid Nehal Ansari, also about the manner in which the court proceedings were conducted.
Well, I think every country has its own procedures and particularly the legal system, the way it works. And also when it relates to a person who has illegally crossed border, I'm sure if anybody from Pakistan entered illegally in dubious circumstances, in this case, Ansari, I think, had entered from Afghanistan. So obviously it would raise questions, and then he or she would be then treated the way the authorities would deem fit. And in this case, I think we don't know the actual situation, but we can only go by what the authorities determined, established through the court, and that's why he was court-martialed. However, it's a happy ending, a happy moment for the entire Ansari family, and I think they all deserve to celebrate. So it's good that their ordeal has come to an end after 6 years.
Sushant, in the manner in which the court was absolutely not, the hearings, of course, the proceedings were not allowed to be reported on freely, and no journalists were allowed to actually witness those proceedings. Do you not feel that that remains a huge question mark also with regard to other cases of prisoners in Pakistan?
No, that is a problem, and I go along with what Mr. Gul is saying to the extent that there is a certain degree of bloody-mindedness between India and Pakistan. And in this particular case, I don't think there can be any denying that Ansari was rather stupid to enter Pakistan the way he did, out of love or infatuation or what have you, and to be get taken in by some cock and bull story with somebody fed him. So that was his mistake. He should not have done it. But having done that, I think it also fell upon the Pakistani authorities to realize that he was a bit of an idiot who had crossed into Pakistan. He was neither a spy nor a saboteur. And experienced people can find this out in no time at all. Now, having found that out, they could have punished him for entering illegally or whatever other provisions of law there were. But there was a certain degree of vindictiveness and viciousness in this particular case, because first they kept him in illegal custody for over 3 years. Then finally they admitted that he was in their custody, and then there was this sham of a court-martial, and he was sentenced to another 3 years. The lawyer pleaded that you've already kept him in custody for 3 years, so that should be set off against the sentence he's been given, but that wasn't done. There was also neither any remission given nor any other concessions given to him. So for certain journalists in India to now pretend that because they interceded with the Pakistani Prime Minister and got this guy off, I think that was rather disingenuous and self-serving. The fact of the matter is that this case could have been handled better from the Pakistani side. But frankly speaking, I don't think Mr. Ansari can claim that he was a victim of something. He did something stupid and he paid a very heavy price for it.
All right, stay with me. Let's also get in the angle of how there are many other Indians who continue to languish in Pakistani jails after the release of Hamid Nehal Ansari. India has expressed concern over prolonged incarceration and ill treatment meted out to other Indians lodged in Pakistani jails. At least 11 other Indian prisoners are lodged in the Pakistani jails who haven't been released after they had completed their sentences. There has been no word from Pakistani authorities on the fate of these incarcerated Indians, and New Delhi has repeatedly expressed concern over these prisoners in view of Pakistan's reluctance to part with information on them. Earlier, Pakistan has not responded to a note verbal sent by India's Foreign Ministry on December 11, seeking consular access to the now-released Hamid Nehal Ansari. A report also suggests that there are over 470 Indian prisoners, including 418 fishermen, in Pakistani jails. In the recent months, there were instances when Pakistan did not inform India about the deaths of two prisoners, a fisherman and a civilian. Since 2014, 10 Indian fishermen and 2 Indian civil prisoners have died in the custody of Pakistan authorities. Sushant, that of course tells us that there is a larger problem that we're looking at here. Hamid Nehal Ansari, of course, is just one case among others.
That's true, and in fact, the problem is on both sides, unfortunately, because in many Pakistani cases, Pakistani prisoners who are caught in India, their sentences are over, and despite the fact that India is asking Pakistan to take back their citizens, the bureaucracy comes in, the paperwork comes in, and even after sentencing is over, the sentences have been served, it sometimes takes years before people can be repatriated back to their home countries. India, on the other hand, has had a somewhat good record, at least after this government came in, because they take ownership of Indian citizens caught in this kind of a predicament anywhere in the world, and they intercede on their behalf. The other case is that of spies and saboteurs who are caught often. And in that case also, I think there is something to be said for a degree of humanitarian treatment to be given to people. But unfortunately, that is not the way India and Pakistan behave with each other. So there is that special relationship which we share with each other, and we give extra special treatment to each other's citizens who are caught in this mess.
Imtiaz, would you like to respond to that?
No, I think there is nothing to respond, and Sushant has hit the problem on the head by saying that both countries are dealing with the issues in an unwanted way, and I think these are all symptoms of a relationship that suffers from mistrust, and I think all these problems that we have pointed out basically stem from that acrimonious relationship, and perhaps one would hope that sooner than later both countries return to the talks table and at least take up the humanitarian issue. I think Pakistan in the last few months has released a number of fishermen, a number of prisoners. But the larger issue is more humanitarian. The larger issue is more of those people who at times overstay in a country and then they are held and then they are not released even after they have served out their terms. So this is something that can definitely be handled if the relationship returns to a little bit of normalcy, and then both countries can discuss smaller issues rather than always haggling over Kashmir and Siachen, which basically obscures the smaller humanitarian social issues.
And of course, as we've been discussing, Hamid Nehal Ansari's case is symptomatic of the larger problem here when we're looking at the manner in which these cases have been handled by Pakistan and the relationship between the two countries going forward being impacted by these cases. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Sushant, Sareen and Imtiaz Gul, thanks very much for joining us with all of those perspectives.